In a quiet little town surrounded by green hills and tall trees, life moved at a slow pace. The people there were simple, and so was their high school. Every day, students filled the hallways, chatting about weekend plans, sports games, or gossip they had heard during lunch. It was an ordinary place where nothing much seemed to happen, until one day when everything changed. That day began like any other. The morning bell rang, signaling the start of classes, and students shuffled into their classrooms. But something, or rather someone, was different. A new student had arrived. Her name was Aisha, and she stood out immediately. She wasn't loud or flashy. Instead, she carried herself with a quiet confidence that made people curious. Her dark skin glowed under the fluorescent lights, and her accent hinted at a faraway land. No one knew much about her yet, but whispers spread quickly through the halls. Who is she? Where did she come from? Why does she seem so different? Aisha's story wasn't one most kids could relate to. Born in a small village in China, she'd grown up learning things very few people her age ever experienced. Her grandmother, once a revered Shaolin monk, had taken it upon herself to teach Aisha the ancient ways of martial arts. From sunrise to sunset, Aisha trained tirelessly, mastering not just punches and kicks, but also discipline, patience, and inner peace. To her, martial arts weren't just about fighting, they were about protecting yourself, respecting others, and finding balance in life. But none of this was visible on her first day at the new school. All anyone saw was a shy girl sitting quietly in class, taking notes without saying much. Some students thought she might be stuck up, while others assumed she was too scared to speak up. Either way, no one imagined the strength hidden beneath her calm exterior. Meanwhile, in another part of the school, Jake, the self-proclaimed king of the hallways, was busy plotting his next move. Jake wasn't exactly popular because people liked him. He was feared. Tall, broad-shouldered, and always accompanied by his two loyal sidekicks, he ruled the school with a mix of intimidation and arrogance. He picked on anyone who looked weaker than him, whether it was nerds buried in textbooks, loners eating alone, or anyone who dared to stand out. For Jake, bullying wasn't just a habit. It was a hobby. When word reached Jake about the new girl, his ears perked up. A black girl, with an accent, he scoffed to his friends between bites of his greasy burger. This'll be fun. He had already decided what he would do before even meeting her. After all, picking on newcomers was easy. They didn't know how things worked here, and they usually kept to themselves, making them perfect targets. Jake waited until lunchtime to make his move. By then, Aisha had found a quiet spot in the cafeteria, away from the noisy crowds. She sat alone, eating a modest meal packed in a reusable container. There were no burgers or fries on her tray, just rice, vegetables, and some kind of stew. It smelled delicious to her, but to Jake it looked strange and off-putting. "Hey, new girl," Jake called out as he approached her table, his voice dripping with mockery. His friends snickered behind him, enjoying the show. "What's with the weird food? You think you're too good for burgers?" Heads turned across the cafeteria as everyone stopped to watch. This was typical Jake behavior, and most students expected the usual outcome. Tears, awkward silence, or maybe a teacher stepping in to break things up. Aisha didn't react right away. She lowered her fork, wiped her mouth gently with a napkin, and looked up at Jake. Her eyes were calm, almost unnervingly so. "I'm fine, thank you," she replied in a soft but steady voice. Her politeness caught Jake off guard. He had been expecting anger, embarrassment, or fear, not this composed response. For a moment, Jake hesitated. Then, deciding she must be faking confidence, he grabbed her lunch tray and flipped it onto the floor. Food splattered everywhere, and the cafeteria erupted into murmurs. Students exchanged glances, unsure whether to laugh nervously or feel sorry for Aisha. Most expected her to cry or shout back. Instead, she stood slowly, brushing crumbs off her jeans. Her movements were deliberate, almost graceful. Jake smirked, crossing his arms over his chest. "What are you gonna do now, huh?" he taunted, leaning closer. "Cry? Run away? Go ahead, I dare you." Aisha tilted her head slightly, studying him as if sizing him up. Then, in a tone so calm it sent chills down the spines of those watching, she said, "You should not have done that." Before Jake could process her words, something extraordinary happened. In the blink of an eye, Aisha moved. 1 second, she was standing still. The next, Jake was on the ground, clutching his wrist and groaning in pain. The entire cafeteria froze, stunned into silence. No one could believe what they had just witnessed. Had the quiet new girl really taken down the school bully with a single motion? Gasps echoed around the room as reality sank in. Jake scrambled to his feet, disbelief written all over his face. "What the? How did you?" he stammered, unable to finish his sentence. His friends backed away, suddenly realizing they didn't want to get involved. For the first time in years, Jake felt powerless and humiliated. Aisha didn't say another word. She bent down to pick up her empty tray, placed it on the nearest table, and walked out of the cafeteria, leaving behind a sea of shocked faces. The whispers started almost immediately. Who was she? How had she done that? Was she secretly a spy? Or maybe a superhero? While rumors swirled, Aisha returned to class as though nothing unusual had happened. She didn't seek attention, nor did she brag about what she had done. To her, it was simply a matter of defending herself, a lesson her grandmother had drilled into her since childhood. Violence was never the goal. Protection was. Still, the impact of her actions rippled throughout the school, changing its dynamics in ways no one anticipated. By the end of the day, Jake avoided looking at Aisha altogether. Gone was his usual swagger. Instead, he slouched in his seat, nursing both his bruised ego and his injured wrist. Meanwhile, Aisha remained unfazed, focusing on her studies and keeping mostly to herself. But deep down, she knew her life at this school would never be the same again, and neither would the lives of those around her. The next morning at school, the atmosphere felt different. Whispers filled the hallways as students recounted the events of the previous day. "Did you see what happened in the cafeteria?" one student asked another, wide-eyed. "She flipped him like it was nothing," another chimed in. "I heard she's a ninja or something." The stories grew wilder with each retelling, blending fact and fiction until Aisha's name became synonymous with mystery and power. Despite all the attention, Aisha remained unfazed. She arrived early as usual and took her seat in homeroom, without acknowledging the stares or hushed conversations around her. To her, the incident with Jake was already in the past, a fleeting moment that didn't define who she was. But for everyone else, it was the talk of the town. Even teachers seemed curious, exchanging glances whenever Aisha walked into class. Jake, on the other hand, couldn't shake off his humiliation. His wrist still throbbed from where Aisha had twisted it, but the physical pain paled in comparison to the blow to his reputation. For years he had prided himself on being untouchable, the guy no one dared to cross. Now, thanks to a single girl, his invincible image lay shattered. He tried to act normal, cracking jokes with his friends and pretending nothing had changed. But deep down, he knew things were different. Every time someone mentioned the cafeteria incident, his face burned with shame. At lunchtime, Aisha chose a quieter spot this time, hoping to avoid further drama. She sat near a window, enjoying the cool breeze while sipping water from her reusable bottle. However, peace wasn't meant to last long. A group of girls approached her cautiously, led by Mia, the captain of the debate team. Mia was known for her sharp mind and leadership skills, but today she looked unusually nervous. "Hi," Mia began hesitantly, glancing back at her friends for support. We wanted to talk to you about what happened yesterday." Aisha raised an eyebrow, waiting patiently for her to continue. Encouraged by her silence, Mia pressed on. "Is it true? All those stories about you being able to fight like a martial arts expert?" Aisha smiled faintly, setting her bottle down. "It is true I can defend myself if needed," she admitted, her tone calm and measured. "But I prefer peace." Mia exchanged glances with her friends before blurting out, "Can you teach us, please? We've never seen anyone move like that before. It was incredible." The request caught Aisha off guard. She hesitated, thinking back to her grandmother's teachings. Her grandmother had always emphasized using martial arts responsibly, not for show or aggression, but for self-discipline and protection. Teaching others would require trust and patience, qualities she wasn't sure these girls possessed. I don't know, Aisha replied thoughtfully. Martial arts are not just about fighting, they're about respect, focus, and understanding your own strength. It takes years of practice and dedication. Mia nodded eagerly. We understand that. We're not asking to become fighters overnight. We just want to learn how to protect ourselves, and maybe gain a little confidence too. Her sincerity struck a chord with Aisha. She remembered what it felt like to be vulnerable, especially when she first moved to China as a child. Back then, she relied on her grandmother's guidance to navigate unfamiliar territory. Perhaps now, she could offer that same support to others. After a moment of consideration, Aisha agreed. All right, she said softly. But only if you promise to take it seriously. This isn't a game. Word spread quickly after that. By the end of the week, a small group of students gathered in the school gym after hours, eager to learn from Aisha. At first, they stood awkwardly, unsure of what to expect. Aisha started with the basics: proper posture, breathing techniques, and simple stances designed to improve balance and awareness. She spoke slowly and clearly, making sure everyone understood before moving on to the next step. As days turned into weeks, the sessions became more structured. Aisha introduced meditation exercises to help the students clear their minds and focus better. She demonstrated basic self-defense moves, emphasizing speed and precision over brute force. To her surprise, the participants took the lessons to heart. They practiced diligently, asking questions and encouraging each other along the way. What began as curiosity soon evolved into genuine interest, and even friendship. Among the group was Emma, a shy freshman who often got teased for wearing glasses too thick for fashion trends. Through Aisha's guidance, Emma discovered a newfound sense of confidence. When a boy tried to snatch her backpack one afternoon, she instinctively used a move Aisha had taught her, startling him enough to drop it. For the first time, Emma stood up for herself and won. Another participant, Sarah, struggled with anxiety attacks during stressful situations. The breathing exercises Aisha shared helped her stay calm during exams and presentations. I feel like I have control over my body again, Sarah confessed during one session. Thank you, Aisha. Even Mia found value beyond the physical aspect. As captain of the debate team, she faced constant pressure to perform. Learning martial arts gave her tools to manage stress and channel her energy effectively. You've taught us so much more than just how to fight, Mia told Aisha one evening. You've shown us how to believe in ourselves. While the ETU students grew stronger, both physically and mentally, Jake watched from afar, seething with resentment. He hated seeing Aisha surrounded by admirers, basking in the spotlight he once claimed as his own. More than anything, he hated feeling powerless. Yet despite his anger, he couldn't deny the changes happening around him. The same kids he used to intimidate now walked with their heads held high. Some even ignored his taunts altogether, leaving him frustrated and isolated. One afternoon, unable to bear it any longer, Jake confronted Aisha outside the library. He had rehearsed what he wanted to say, but when he finally faced her, his words faltered. Why are you doing this? He demanded, his voice laced with frustration. Why are you turning everyone against me? Aisha studied him quietly, her expression unreadable. I'm not turning anyone against you, she replied evenly. They're choosing to stand up for themselves because they've learned they can. That's not my fault. It's yours. Her honesty hit Jake like a punch to the gut. He opened his mouth to argue but stopped himself, realizing she was right. For years he had thrived on fear, feeding off the insecurities of others. Now, stripped of that power, he didn't know who he was anymore. Seeing his vulnerability, Aisha softened slightly. If you really want to change, she said gently, you can start by respecting others. Strength doesn't come from hurting people. It comes from lifting them up. Jake stared at her, conflicted. Part of him wanted to lash out, to deny everything she said, but another part, the part desperate for redemption, nodded slowly. "Okay," he muttered, avoiding her gaze. "I'll try." Though skeptical, Aisha decided to give him a chance. Over the following weeks, she allowed Jake to join the training sessions, albeit reluctantly. At first, he struggled to keep up, both physically and emotionally. Old habits died hard, and he often reverted to his bullying ways when frustrated. But Aisha remained patient, reminding him why he had chosen to change in the first place. Slowly but surely, Jake began to transform. He stopped picking fights and started listening instead. He apologized to those he had hurt, earning cautious forgiveness from some and outright rejection from others. It wasn't easy, but for the first time in his life, Jake felt like he was becoming someone worth respecting. By the end of the semester, the school felt like a completely different place. The bullying incidents that once plagued its halls had dwindled significantly. Teachers noticed a marked improvement in student behavior, attributing it to the newfound sense of unity fostered by Aisha's influence. Even Jake, though still working on himself, had earned tentative acceptance from his peers. Through it all, Aisha remained humble. She didn't seek recognition or praise. Her reward came from seeing others grow. And as winter gave way to spring, the quiet new girl who had once been an outsider became the heart of the school, a symbol of strength, kindness, and resilience. As the weeks rolled by, Aisha's presence continued to ripple through the school in ways no one could have predicted. What started as a few curious students learning basic self-defense techniques blossomed into something much bigger, a movement of empowerment and transformation. The gym, once empty after hours, now buzzed with energy as more and more students joined Aisha's informal martial arts sessions. They came from all walks of life: shy freshmen looking for courage, seniors seeking discipline, athletes wanting to refine their skills, and even teachers who wanted to learn how to stay calm under pressure. Aisha handled the growing group with grace and patience. She never raised her voice or demanded perfection. Instead, she focused on teaching values alongside techniques: respect, humility, and perseverance. Martial arts are not just about physical strength, she often reminded them. They're about controlling your mind and emotions. If you can master that, then you've truly learned something valuable. Her words resonated deeply with the participants. For many, these lessons extended beyond the gym and into their daily lives. Take Mia, for example. As captain of the debate team, she faced immense pressure to excel. Before meeting Aisha, Mia would crumble under stress, second-guessing every argument she presented. But after weeks of practicing breathing exercises and meditation, she found herself calmer and more confident during competitions. Her teammates noticed the change too. "You seem unstoppable lately," one of them joked after a particularly heated round. Mia smiled, knowing exactly whom to thank. Then there was Emma, the quiet freshman who had always been an easy target for bullies. Since joining Aisha's sessions, Emma began carrying herself differently. She stood taller, made eye contact, and spoke up when someone tried to tease her. One afternoon, when a group of older boys snickered at her mismatched socks, Emma didn't shrink away. Instead, she looked them straight in the eye and said, "If you don't like my socks, maybe you should buy me better ones." The boys burst out laughing, not because they were mocking her, but because her boldness caught them off guard. From that day forward, they left her alone. Even Sarah, who struggled with anxiety, discovered unexpected benefits. During one session, Aisha taught the group a technique called grounding, which involved focusing on the sensations of their feet touching the floor. At first, Sarah thought it sounded silly, but she decided to give it a try. To her surprise, the exercise helped her regain control during moments of panic. Whether it was before a big test or while giving a presentation, Sarah found herself repeating Aisha's instructions in her head. Feel your feet. Breathe deeply. Stay present. It worked like magic, and soon, Sarah became one of Aisha's most enthusiastic supporters. But perhaps the most surprising transformation came from Jake. After reluctantly agreeing to join the training sessions, he initially struggled to fit in. His old habits lingered. He snapped at classmates, mocked slower learners, and rolled his eyes whenever Aisha emphasized values over violence. Yet, despite his resistance, Aisha treated him with kindness and fairness. She corrected his mistakes, without judgment, and encouraged him when he showed signs of improvement. One evening, after a particularly grueling session, Jake approached Aisha hesitantly. "Why do you keep helping me?" he asked, his voice tinged with frustration. "I don't deserve it." Aisha paused, considering her response carefully. "Everyone deserves a chance to change," she said finally. "Even you." Her words struck a nerve. For years, Jake had defined himself by his ability to intimidate others. Now, stripped of that identity, he felt lost. But Aisha's unwavering belief in his potential gave him hope. Slowly, he began to let go of his anger and embrace the lessons she taught. He practiced harder than anyone else, determined to prove, to himself if no one else, that he could be better. By spring, the effects of Aisha's influence were undeniable. The school felt lighter, freer. Hallways that were once tense with fear now buzzed with laughter and conversation. Students greeted each other warmly, and cliques seemed less rigid. Even the cafeteria, once a battleground of social hierarchies, became a place where people mingled comfortably. Teachers noticed the shift too. Mrs. Peterson, the history teacher, marveled at how her classes ran smoother. "It's like everyone's paying attention now," she remarked during a faculty meeting. "No disruptions, no arguments. I haven't seen this kind of focus in years." Mr. Harris, the gym coach, nodded in agreement. "Whatever Aisha's doing, it's working wonders. Even Jake seems different." Of course, not everything changed overnight. There were still challenges. Some students resisted the new atmosphere, clinging to old rivalries or resentments. Others doubted whether the positive changes would last. But for the majority, the difference was clear and inspiring. For Aisha, though, the journey wasn't without its own struggles. Despite her outward calm, she sometimes felt overwhelmed by the weight of expectation. People looked to her for guidance, advice, and answers, and while she welcomed the opportunity to help, it wasn't always easy. Late at night, lying awake, in bed, she wondered if she was doing enough, if she was living up to her grandmother's teachings. She missed her village, the quiet mornings spent meditating by the river, and the comforting presence of her grandmother's wisdom. Yet whenever doubt crept in, she reminded herself why she had started this journey in the first place: to share what she had learned and make a difference, however small. One Friday afternoon, as the school prepared for its annual talent show, Aisha received an unexpected request. Mia knocked on her locker door, holding a clipboard and wearing her signature determined expression. "We need you," Mia announced without preamble. "The talent show is tomorrow, and we want you to perform." Aisha blinked in surprise. "Perform? Me? I don't think so." "Why not?" Mia pressed. "You've inspired all of us. Show everyone what you're capable of. It'll mean a lot." "I'm not here to show off," Aisha replied firmly. "These lessons aren't about performance, they're about growth." Mia sighed, realizing she wouldn't win this argument easily. But she wasn't ready to give up either. "Fine," she said, softening her tone. "How about this? Instead of performing alone, do it with the group. We've been practicing together for months. Let's show the school what we've learned. As a team." The idea intrigued Aisha. She glanced around the hallway, noticing the hopeful faces of her fellow students. They had worked hard, and they deserved recognition. Perhaps this was their moment to shine, not just individually, but collectively. "All right," Aisha agreed after a pause, "but only if everyone agrees." The next evening, the auditorium buzzed with excitement. Parents, teachers, and students filled the seats, eager to see what awaited them. When the curtain rose, revealing Aisha and her group standing in perfect formation, the room fell silent. Clad in simple uniforms of black pants and white shirts, they moved in harmony, executing intricate patterns of kicks, punches, and blocks. Their movements were fluid yet powerful, a testament to months of dedication and practice. As the routine unfolded, The audience watched in awe. Each step told a story of resilience, unity, and transformation. When the final pose ended, the auditorium erupted into thunderous applause. Cheering echoed through the halls and tears glistened in some eyes, including Aisha's. Afterward, as the crowd dispersed, Mia hugged Aisha tightly. "You did it," she whispered. "You brought us together." Aisha shook her head, smiling, softly. "No," she corrected gently. "We did it. Together." And in that moment, surrounded by friends, peers, and even former adversaries turned allies, Aisha realized something profound. Strength wasn't just about protecting yourself. It was about creating a world where everyone felt safe, valued, and empowered. The success of the talent show performance marked a turning point for Aisha and her peers. It wasn't just the applause or the standing ovation that mattered, it was the sense of unity and accomplishment they shared. For the first time, many students realized how far they had come since Aisha's arrival. What began as individual curiosity about her mysterious skills had grown into a collective journey of self-improvement and mutual support. The school felt different now, lighter, brighter, and more connected. But while most students embraced this change, not everyone was ready to let go of old habits. Jake, despite his efforts to reform, still faced skepticism from some classmates. Though he no longer bullied others, whispers followed him wherever he went. "Do you think he's really changed?" one student asked another during lunch. Or, "Is he just pretending so people will stop hating him?" These doubts weighed heavily on Jake, who worked tirelessly to prove himself, but often felt like he was fighting an uphill battle. Aisha noticed his struggle. One afternoon after training in the gym, she approached him as he sat alone on the bleachers staring blankly at the basketball court below. "You look troubled," she said gently, sitting beside him. Jake shrugged, avoiding her gaze. "It doesn't matter what I do," he muttered bitterly. "No one believes I've changed. Maybe they're right. I don't deserve their trust." Aisha studied him quietly before responding. "Change takes time," she said. "Not just for you, but for those around you. People need to see consistency before they can believe in someone new. That's why it's important to keep going, even when it's hard." Her words didn't erase Jake's frustration, but they gave him something to hold on to. A reminder that progress wasn't measured by immediate results but by steady effort. Determined to prove Aisha right, Jake threw himself into the martial arts sessions with renewed focus. He practiced harder than ever, pushing past physical limits and confronting emotional barriers. Slowly, his dedication began to earn respect, not because he demanded it, but because he earned it through action. Meanwhile, the ripple effects of Aisha's influence extended beyond the school walls. Parents started noticing changes in their children's behavior. Emma's mother, for instance, marveled at how confident her daughter had become. She used to hide in her room whenever guests came over, Mrs. Carter told a neighbor. Now, she greets everyone with a smile and talks about her day without hesitation. "I barely recognize her." Other parents echoed similar sentiments, praising Aisha's impact on their kids' confidence and discipline. Word eventually reached the local community center, where organizers were searching for ways to engage youth in positive activities. Inspired by Aisha's story, they invited her to lead a weekend workshop for teenagers from neighboring schools. At first, Aisha hesitated. She had never taught outside her own school and worried about taking on too much responsibility. But when Mia and the others encouraged her, she agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to spread her grandmother's teachings even further. The workshop turned out to be a resounding success. Teenagers from diverse backgrounds gathered in the community center's gym, eager to learn from the girl whose legend had spread across town. Aisha started each session with a simple message. Martial arts are not about hurting others. They're about protecting yourself and respecting those around you. Her approach resonated deeply, especially with participants who came from challenging environments. Many of them confided in Aisha afterward, sharing stories of hardship and fear. In return, she offered them tools to cope, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Back at school, life continued to transform. The once hostile cafeteria became a space of inclusivity, where students mingled freely regardless of cliques or stereotypes. Even teachers joined in, organizing group activities that encouraged collaboration over competition. Mr. Harris, the gym coach, partnered with Aisha to host monthly fitness challenges that emphasized teamwork rather than individual achievement. These events brought students together in ways traditional sports couldn't, fostering camaraderie and mutual respect. One such challenge involved a relay race combined with problem-solving tasks. Teams had to work together to complete puzzles while running laps around the track. Initially, some students groaned at the idea, preferring straightforward races. But as the event unfolded, they discovered the joy of strategizing and supporting each other. By the end, even the skeptics admitted it was fun and surprisingly rewarding. As spring deepened into early summer, preparations began for the annual awards ceremony. This year, however, there was a noticeable shift in nominations. Instead of focusing solely on academic or athletic achievements, students proposed categories like Most Improved Confidence, Best Team Player, and Outstanding Leadership. Unsurprisingly, Aisha's name appeared repeatedly across multiple fields. Yet true to her nature, she declined any personal recognition. "These awards aren't about me," she insisted, when Mia tried to nominate her for Student of the Year. "They're about all of us growing together." Despite her reluctance, the school administration decided to honor Aisha in a special way. During the ceremony, Principal Thompson took the stage to announce a surprise award, the newly established Spirit of Unity Trophy. Designed to celebrate individuals who inspire kindness, resilience, and collaboration, the trophy featured an engraved image of two hands clasped together, a symbol chosen specifically with Aisha in mind. As her name was called, the entire auditorium rose to its feet, erupting in cheers and applause. For Aisha, accepting the award was both humbling and overwhelming. Standing under the spotlight, she scanned the crowd, meeting the eyes of countless students whose lives she had touched. Some smiled warmly, others wiped away tears. Finally, she stepped up to the microphone and spoke from the heart. "This award isn't mine alone," she said softly. "It belongs to every single person here tonight. You've shown me that strength isn't about being better than others. It's about lifting each other up. Thank you for teaching me that lesson." Her speech left the audience speechless. Many moved to tears. Even Jake, sitting near the back of the room, felt a lump rise in his throat. He thought back to the boy he used to be, the bully who thrived on fear, and compared it to the person he was becoming. It wasn't perfect, and he knew he still had work to do, but for the first time, he felt proud of himself. After the ceremony, as students spilled out into the warm evening air, conversations buzzed with excitement. "Did you hear what Aisha said?" One girl gushed to her friend. "She's amazing." Another chimed in, "I wish we could bottle whatever magic she has and share it with the world." Aisha herself slipped away quietly, seeking solace beneath the shade of a large oak tree near the football field. She leaned against the trunk, closing her eyes and letting the cool breeze wash over her. Despite the accolades and admiration, she remained grounded, knowing her journey was far from over. There would always be challenges ahead, moments of doubt and uncertainty. But for now, she allowed herself a rare moment of peace, reflecting on how far she and everyone around her had come. Unbeknownst to her, a small group of students gathered nearby, watching silently. Among them were Mia, Emma, Sarah, and even Jake. They exchanged glances, nodding in unspoken agreement. Then, stepping forward, Mia cleared her throat. "Aisha," she called out softly, "we need to talk to you." Startled, Aisha opened her eyes and turned to face them. "What is it?" she asked, sensing the seriousness in their tone. Mia hesitated, then spoke up. "We've been thinking. We want to keep this going. Not just the martial arts sessions, but everything. The unity, the support, the growth. We don't want it to end when school does." Emma nodded eagerly. "Yeah. Can we start a club or something? Something permanent?" Aisha smiled faintly, touched by their enthusiasm. That's a wonderful idea, she replied. But remember, it's not about me leading. It's about all of you continuing to inspire each other. Jake stepped forward then, surprising everyone, including himself. Let us handle it, he said firmly. We'll figure it out. Just give us your blessing. For a moment, Aisha simply looked at him, pride swelling in her chest. Then with a nod, she said, You have my blessing and my gratitude. As the group dispersed, buzzing with plans and ideas, Aisha returned to her quiet reflection. She thought about her grandmother's teachings, the lessons she had passed down through generations. Perhaps, she mused, this was her purpose, to carry that legacy forward, planting seeds of strength and kindness wherever she went. The idea of creating a permanent club to continue Aisha's teachings sparked a wave of excitement among the students. Over the next few weeks, Mia, Emma, Sarah, Jake, and a handful of others poured their energy into making it a reality. They held brainstorming sessions during lunch breaks, drafted proposals for the school administration, and even designed flyers to spread the word. The name they chose for the club, Unity and Strength, reflected its core mission, fostering confidence, resilience, and teamwork through martial arts and mindfulness practices. Principal Thompson was quick to approve the proposal, impressed by the students' dedication and vision. This is exactly the kind of initiative we need, he told them during their meeting. It's not just about teaching skills, it's about building character. With his support, the group secured permission to use the gym after hours and received funding for basic equipment like mats, punching bags, and uniforms. Aisha watched from the sidelines as her peers took charge, stepping into leadership roles she never imagined they'd embrace so eagerly. Mia became the official spokesperson, organizing meetings and rallying new members. Emma handled logistics, ensuring everything ran smoothly behind the scenes. Sarah focused on outreach, encouraging quieter students to join and feel included, and Jake, he surprised everyone by volunteering to be the treasurer, managing finances with surprising precision and responsibility. Despite their enthusiasm, challenges arose almost immediately. Not every student welcomed the idea of a martial arts club, led by former victims of bullying, or worse, by Jake himself. Some dismissed it as a passing trend, while others mocked the founders openly. What do you know about running a club? One senior sneered during a hallway encounter. You're just kids playing hero. Instead of letting criticism discourage them, the group used it as motivation. During their first official meeting, Aisha reminded everyone why they had started this journey in the first place. People will always doubt you, she said calmly, addressing the packed room. But don't let that stop you from doing what you believe is right. Focus on your purpose, not their opinions. Her words resonated deeply, galvanizing the group to push forward. Slowly but surely, skeptics began to see the value of unity in strength. Parents praised the program for boosting their children's self-esteem. Teachers noted improvements in behavior and classroom dynamics. Even some of the harshest critics softened when they saw tangible results. A timid freshman standing up to bullies, a shy sophomore delivering a confident speech in class, or an argument diffused peacefully thanks to breathing techniques learned at practice. Jake, in particular, became a symbol of redemption within the school. His transformation wasn't lost on anyone, least of all himself. One evening, after a particularly grueling session, he approached Aisha privately. I never thought I'd say this, he admitted, rubbing his sore shoulder. But thank you for everything. Aisha raised an eyebrow, amused. For what? For showing me who I could be, Jake replied earnestly. Before you came. Along I didn't think I was capable of change, but now, I feel like maybe I can actually make something of myself. His honesty touched Aisha deeply. She placed a hand on his shoulder, offering a rare smile. That's all any of us can hope for, to become better versions of ourselves. Keep going, Jake. You're already doing great. As spring gave way, to summer the club gained momentum, attracting students from neighboring schools as well. Word spread quickly, thanks in part to social media posts showcasing training videos and testimonials. Soon, Unity and Strength evolved beyond a mere extracurricular activity. It became a movement, Local newspapers featured articles about the group, highlighting their impact on youth empowerment. Community leaders invited them to speak at events, praising their innovative approach to addressing issues like bullying and low self-confidence. But perhaps the most profound moment came when Aisha received a letter from her grandmother back in China. Written in elegant calligraphy, the note expressed pride and admiration for how Aisha had carried forward the Shaolin traditions. "Your strength lies not in your fists, but in your heart," her grandmother wrote. "You have planted seeds of wisdom that will grow for generations. Never forget that true mastery is measured not by what you achieve, but by whom you inspire." Tears welled up in Aisha's eyes as she read the words aloud to Mia and the others during a planning session. "She's proud of me," Aisha whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "She says I'm doing what she always hoped I would." Mia hugged her tightly, followed by the rest of the group. "Of course she's proud," Mia said firmly. "We all are. Look at what you've done. You've changed our lives." The culmination of their hard work arrived with the end-of-year showcase, a grand event designed to demonstrate the progress made by Unity and Strength members. Held in the school auditorium, the evening drew a large crowd, including parents, teachers, local officials, and curious community members. The stage was set with dim lighting and traditional Chinese music, playing softly in the background, creating an atmosphere of calm anticipation. When the curtains opened, Aisha stood center stage, flanked by her fellow instructors. Dressed in simple black uniforms embroidered with the club's emblem, a stylized tree symbolizing growth, they bowed respectfully before beginning their performance. What followed was a breathtaking display of skill and unity. Students moved in perfect harmony, executing complex sequences that blended martial arts techniques with elements of dance and meditation. Each movement told a story of struggle, perseverance, and triumph. The highlight of the show came when Jake stepped forward for a solo demonstration. Though initially hesitant to take the spotlight, he had agreed after much persuasion from the group. As he performed a series of precise kicks, punches, and blocks, the audience watched in awe. Gone was the arrogant bully. In his place stood a disciplined young man whose strength radiated not from aggression, but from control and focus. When he finished, the room erupted into applause, cheering louder than ever before. Afterward, during the closing remarks, Principal Thompson took the stage to express his gratitude. "Tonight we've witnessed something truly remarkable," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "These students have shown us that real power comes from working together, supporting each other, and believing in ourselves. Thank you, Unity, in Strength, for reminding us all of what's possible when we choose kindness over cruelty and courage over fear." As the event concluded, Aisha found herself surrounded by well-wishers, each eager to congratulate her and share heartfelt stories of personal growth. Yet amidst the celebration, she couldn't shake a lingering sense of bittersweetness. Graduation loomed just weeks away, and with it the inevitable question: what happens next? Late that night, lying awake in bed, Aisha reflected on her journey. She thought about the shy girl who had walked into the cafeteria on her first day, unsure of what lay ahead. She thought about the friendships she had forged, the lives she had touched, and the legacy she hoped to leave behind. Most importantly, she thought about her grandmother's letter, the reminder that true mastery was measured not by achievement, but by inspiration. The following morning, Aisha gathered the founding members of Unity and Strength for a special meeting. Sitting in a circle beneath the same oak tree where the idea had first taken root, she addressed them with quiet determination. "I'll be leaving soon," she began, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "But this isn't goodbye, it's just the beginning for all of you." Mia frowned, concern flickering across her face. "What do you mean? Where are you going?" Aisha smiled faintly. "Home. Back to my village. My grandmother needs me there, and I need her too. But Unity and Strength doesn't end with me. It belongs to all of you now, to carry forward, to adapt and to grow." Emma looked down, blinking back tears. "But how will we manage without you?" That's the beauty of it, Aisha replied gently. You already have. Look at everything you've accomplished together. You don't need me to tell you what to do. You've proven that you're capable of leading yourselves. Jake nodded, slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. So, this is our chance to step up, to keep the spirit alive. Exactly, Aisha affirmed. And remember, no matter where life takes you, the lessons we've shared will always stay with you. Strength, respect, humility, they're not just principles, they're gifts. Pass them on whenever you can. One by one, the group embraced, her promising to honor her trust and continue the work she had started. As they dispersed, returning to their daily routines, Aisha remained under the tree, savoring the warmth of the sun on her skin. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, for her or for them, but she also knew they were ready. Together, they had created something extraordinary, something that would endure long after she was gone. In the days leading up to graduation, Aisha spent her final moments at the school cherishing the connections she had built. She trained alongside her peers, sharing laughter and advice. She sat quietly in empty classrooms, reflecting on memories both joyful and challenging. And she stood proudly beside Jake, Mia, and the others as they accepted certificates of recognition during the farewell assembly. When the big day finally arrived, Aisha walked across the stage to receive her diploma, greeted by thunderous applause. Graduation day marked the end of an era for Aisha, but it also signaled the dawn of new beginnings, not just for her, but for everyone whose lives she had touched. As she stood on the stage, diploma in hand, Aisha felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her. Pride, nostalgia, and a tinge of sadness at saying goodbye to the place that had become her second home. Yet beneath it all, there was an unwavering sense of hope. She knew the seeds she had planted would continue to grow, nurtured by those who believed in her vision. The weeks following graduation were a whirlwind of preparation. Aisha packed her belongings, said tearful goodbyes to friends, and promised to stay in touch through letters and occasional video calls. Before leaving town, she attended one last Unity and Strength meeting, where Jake, Mia, Emma, Sarah, and the others gathered to honor her contributions. The gym was filled with laughter, hugs, and heartfelt speeches as each member expressed their gratitude. "You've changed us," Mia said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. We'll carry your teachings with us forever." Jake nodded solemnly, adding, "You showed me I could be better. That's something no one else ever did." Aisha listened quietly, her heart swelling with love and pride. When it was her turn to speak, she kept her words simple yet profound. "Remember this. Strength isn't about being invincible. It's about knowing when to stand firm and when to let go. Protect each other, lift each other up, and never stop growing. If you do that, then my work here is done." With those parting words, Aisha boarded a plane bound for China, returning to the village where her journey had begun. Her grandmother greeted her at the airport, frail but radiant, her eyes twinkling with pride. Over steaming cups of tea, they spent hours catching up, sharing stories of challenges overcome and lessons learned. Aisha recounted every detail of her time at the school, the bullying incident with Jake, the formation of Unity and Strength, and the countless moments of triumph and transformation. Her grandmother listened intently, nodding occasionally with approval. When Aisha finished, she placed a weathered hand over hers and said, "You have honored our traditions well, my child. But remember, true wisdom lies not in teaching others, but in learning from them too." What did you take away from this experience? Aisha paused, reflecting deeply before answering. I learned that strength isn't something we possess alone. It's shared. Every person I met taught me something valuable, whether it was patience, resilience, or forgiveness, and I realized that sometimes the greatest act of courage is trusting others to carry the torch. Her grandmother smiled, satisfied. Then you are truly ready to embrace your path. Back in the small American town, life moved forward without Aisha, but her influence remained ever present. Under Jake's leadership, Unity and Strength thrived, expanding its reach beyond the high school to include younger students and even adults from the community. The club hosted workshops, charity events, and self-defense classes, becoming a pillar of positivity and empowerment. Jake, once the embodiment of arrogance and cruelty, transformed into a role model, using his story to inspire others to change. Mia spearheaded outreach programs, connecting with schools in neighboring districts to spread Aisha's philosophy. Emma found her voice, volunteering as a mentor for shy freshmen struggling to fit in. Sarah continued practicing mindfulness techniques, eventually training to become a counselor. Together, they ensured that Aisha's legacy endured, adapting her teachings to meet the evolving needs of their peers. Meanwhile, news of Unity and Strength reached unexpected audiences. Local newspapers published follow-up articles, highlighting the program's long-term impact. A documentary filmmaker approached the group, proposing a project to showcase their journey. Though initially hesitant, they agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to amplify their message. The resulting film, titled Strength and Unity, premiered at a regional festival and went on to win awards, drawing national attention to their cause. As years passed, alumni returned to visit, marveling at how much the school, and themselves, had changed because of Aisha. Some credited her with helping them pursue careers in education, social work, or psychology. Others simply thanked her for giving them the confidence to face life's challenges head-on. Even Jake, now working as a youth counselor, often spoke about how Aisha's belief in him had saved him from a bleak future. One summer evening, nearly 5 years after Aisha's departure, a letter arrived at the school addressed to the Unity and Strength team. Inside was a photograph of Aisha standing beside her grandmother in front of a newly built Shaolin training center. In bold letters, across the top it read, "From strength comes growth." Beneath the image, Aisha had written a short note. "Dear friends, I am proud of everything you've accomplished. Your hard work has inspired me to open this center, where I hope to teach others what you taught me. That strength is meaningless without compassion. Please know that though miles separate us, you remain close to my heart. Keep shining your light. With love, Aisha." Tears streamed down Mia's face as she read the note aloud to the group. They gathered around, passing the photo between them, marveling at how far they and Aisha had come. Inspired by her example, they decided to organize a fundraising campaign to support the new center, vowing to strengthen the bond between their two worlds. In the years that followed, Unity and Strength became more than just a club. It became a global network of individuals united by shared values. Students from different countries exchanged ideas, collaborated on projects, and supported one another through virtual platforms. Aisha's dream of fostering unity and resilience transcended borders, proving that kindness and discipline could bridge even the widest divides. For Aisha, life in China brought fulfillment and purpose. She trained aspiring martial artists, blending traditional techniques with modern principles of mental health and personal development. Her grandmother watched proudly as Aisha carried the mantle of leadership, guiding others with the same grace and wisdom she had shown back in high school. Though continents apart, Aisha stayed connected to her friends through letters, emails, and occasional visits. Each reunion felt like picking up right where they'd left off, their bond unshaken by time or distance. During one such visit, Jake surprised her with a gift, a framed collage of photos capturing key moments from Unity and Strength's history. At the center was a picture of Aisha surrounded by smiling faces, her expression serene yet radiant. "This is for you," Jake said, handing her the frame, "to remind you of the family you created." Aisha accepted it with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed by gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "But remember, it wasn't me who created this family. It was all of us, together." And so Aisha's story came full circle. From a quiet girl navigating a foreign land to a beacon of inspiration for thousands, she proved that true strength lies not in isolation, but in connection. Her journey reminded everyone who crossed her path that greatness isn't measured by individual achievements, but by the ripples we leave behind, the lives we touch, the hearts we heal, and the world we shape together. Years later, when asked what defined her legacy, Aisha responded with characteristic humility, "It's not about me. It's about the people who chose to believe in themselves, in each other, and in the power of unity. That's what matters most."